On this day in 1979, 10 men beat Rangers 4-2 to win the league championship. The 21st of May 1979 saw one of the greatest days of the post-Lisbon era as Celtic secured a championship win that seemed highly unlikely at the start of the season and seemed even more unlikely as the season progressed. Jock Stein had resigned in May 1978 as the cruel 70s wreaked havoc on all his carefully laid succession plans, leaving Billy McNeill to rebuild the club from the wreckage of its worst season since the early 60s. Pat Stanton had retired in August, but under McNeill, Celtic made a positive start to the season, winning their first 4 league games, including a 3-1 win over Rangers on the 9th of September 1978, scoring 14 goals for the loss of only 3. But an embarrassing defeat against Burnley in the Anglo-Scottish Cup saw the wheels come off over the next few months, despite the signings of Davy Provan and Murdo MacLeod. By the turn of the year, Celtic were in 6th place in the 10-team Premier Division, having won only 7 and lost 6 of their 18 matches. The worst winter in almost 2 decades meant that they did not play their first league match of 1979 until the 3rd of March. The whole club received an enormous boost when Danny McGrain returned from serious injury to play his first league match since October 1977, and Alfie Conn scored his last goal for the club in a 1-0 win. By then they were in 8th place, although in an incredibly tight race, they were only 4 points behind leaders St Mirren. Despite defeats at Easter Road and Tannadice, Celtic hauled themselves up the table by sheer force of will with a series of wins, but their title hopes suffered a severe blow with a 1-0 defeat to Rangers at Hampden on the 5th of May. The Glasgow Herald reported on the 7th of May 1979, "The events of Saturday should go a long way to deciding the destination of the Premier League Championship. Rangers now have a 1-point advantage over their Old Firm rivals and with just 4 games to go are firmly in the driving seat." Celtic won their next 3 matches and had Mike Conroy to thank for a vital goal in a 1-0 win against Hearts on the 14th of May, which set up a titanic clash against Rangers at Celtic Park the following Monday night. Their task was simple: beat Rangers and the league was won. Since the match at Hampden on the 5th of May, Rangers had failed in 2 attempts to beat Hibernian in the Scottish Cup final and would play the second replay 48 hours after facing Celtic. They were chasing an unprecedented second successive treble, and if they avoided defeat at Celtic Park, they were odds on to achieve it. Celtic were missing Tommy Burns and Roddy McDonald through injury, McDonald's place being taken by Tom McAdam, recently converted into a central defender after being signed from Dundee United in September 1977 as a striker. On a fine spring evening, in front of a crowd of 52,000, Celtic lined up Latchford, McGrain, Lynch, Aitken, McAdam, Edvaldsen, Provan, Conroy, McCluskey, MacLeod, Doyle, subs, Lennox, Davidson. Celtic surged into attack straight from kick-off and had Rangers pinned back in the opening period. But the visitors went ahead with their first attack on 9 minutes, Davy Cooper crossing for Alex McDonald to sweep the ball past Peter Latchford from close in. Undeterred, Celtic kept pressing, Alex Cameron writing in the Daily Record of the 22nd of May 1979, "Celtic covered their dejection extremely well. They had every reason to be annoyed, for up to this point they had done all the pressing. Peter McCloy, with the sun in his eyes, fisted away a try by Davy Provan and saved a shot from Roy Aitken." Celtic's first half pressure was relentless, but they found Peter McCloy in superb form, and even when he was beaten, their luck was still out, Roy Aitken heading a Johnny Doyle free kick off the junction of post and crossbar with the keeper looking on helplessly. 1 goal down at half-time, Celtic continued to throw themselves into attack. Alex Cameron wrote, "The pattern didn't change in the second half. Rangers looked completely composed under ceaseless attacks by the desperate Celts. But there was a sensational incident in the 55th minute when Doyle was sent off for aiming a kick at McDonald, who lay on the ground after being fouled by Mike Conroy. Referee Eddie Pringle didn't see the incident, but he was called over by the far side linesman and an enraged Doyle was sent off, teammates having to stop him from getting at MacDonald again. With only 35 minutes remaining, it looked as though that was the end of Celtic's title hopes, but they refused to accept it was over and redoubled their efforts. Alan Davidson reported in the Evening Times of the 22nd of May 1979, "The massive irony was that the ordering off proved to be the turning point of the match. It steeled Celtic to even greater efforts, forced them to tap on sources of energy which they can't have known existed, made them all the more determined not to accept defeat." 11 minutes later, the 10 men equalised, with the inspirational Roy Aitken latching onto a Proven cross to flick the ball past McCloy. A draw, though, was not enough for Celtic, and as the minutes ticked by and Rangers held on, with only 15 minutes remaining, they finally took the lead, only to quickly lose it again. Ian Paul wrote in the Glasgow Herald of the 22nd of May, "An Aitken drive was blocked, the ball broke to McCluskey and he simply hammered it into the net. The Parkhead faithful were still trying to touch the clear evening sky when they were hauled back to earth with a cruel thump. Inside 2 minutes, Rangers had equalised and were looking good for the title yet again in a glorious seesaw game. A Cooper corner broke to Russell, who smashed a low drive through a posse of players and into the net." Any ordinary team would have crumpled at this setback, but not this Celtic team and not on this night. Despite their determination though, with just 5 minutes to go, the title was still headed for Ibrox. Then, unbelievably, Celtic went ahead again, George McCluskey's shot hitting Colin Jackson before bouncing past the wrong-footed McCloy. The tension was unbearable in the closing minutes, but it was all released in glorious fashion in the closing seconds. Alex Cameron, obviously running out of space in the Daily Record, reporting simply, "A minute into injury time, Murdo MacLeod scored a fourth for Celts." Alan Davidson did more justice to the strike that quickly passed into legend. "Murdo MacLeod scored a fourth, which fitted the occasion. It was a spectacular, a vicious 20-yard drive which exploded high into the net." All the pain of the previous 2 years was forgotten in an outpouring of joy from both fans and players. Fans streamed out of the terracings onto the pitch at the final whistle, and the celebrations went on long into the night. The club had fallen a long way over the course of the 1970s, but out of the wreckage, Billy McNeill was building an exciting young team that may have lacked the quality of the Quality Street gang, whose potential had promised so much for that decade, but they had proven they lacked nothing in heart and determination. Alan Davidson wrote, "There were 10 players in the green and white of Celtic who amazed more than their manager last night. To win any Old Firm match, one man short, is a superb performance. To come from behind, to win by scoring 4 goals in a championship decider, is a unique performance." Celtic's achievement was beyond the belief of even the most fanatical of their support. They surpassed themselves through a magnificent mixture of ambition, will, courage and skill. 10 men had won the league in the most epic fashion and played their way into legend.